Alright, this is episode 1 of What's Your Tone podcast, hosted by Nolsey. And today our guest is Jai Brackenridge.
Hey guys, how are we?
So Jai, me and him go all the way back. We met in high school. He was a few years ahead of me, and he was always been extremely goated at music. And we sort of jammed with each other. I was forced on bass, sort of thing. And he was like always drumming. He was always forced on drums too. So throughout high school, we've had a few jams, and also after high school, we were in a band together, Minimum Wage, for a while, for about a year and a half. And great drummer, great friend of mine.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. So actually, one of the first questions I'm going to ask for you is, how many bands have you actually been in? Like,
I've played with quite a few different groups over the years. The first one I was really doing gigs with was a band called Seshlam.
Seshlam with Henry,
So I kind of joined a little bit later. So I used to be a band, and then I think pretty much all the members ended up leaving except our bassist, and so I joined with another guitarist, Sam Curtis, and so I did a couple gigs with them, and our singer ended up leaving to England, so it kind of was short-lived. But then the main band I was in for a long time was called Lucid Ox. So we actually released an album about 2 years ago now. It's not going anymore. And then at the moment, I'm in quite a few other groups. I like to keep pretty busy, but yeah.
Yeah. All throughout my time I've known Jai, he's at least been in 1 or 2 bands. And juggling between them has been a bit difficult because we've tried to get gigs with Minimum Wage and stuff, and you'd be like, hey, I've actually already got a gig on that night.
I don't think that happened that often.
Oh, well, it felt more often than I guess it was sometimes, but
yeah. Well, there's been a couple times where I've had to do, 2 gigs on the same day.
Back to back.
Just did that, the other day actually. But it's always a bit tough doing 2 gigs on a day. Because I do a bit of bass, guitar, and I do drums. I always prefer if it's 1 of each. Like if it's 2 gigs on drums, then I'm pretty much stuffed by the end of it.
So you just say like it's a very tiring instrument. Is that why?
It's a very physical instrument, drums.
That's true.
With bass guitar, I mean, it's kind of, you're not using your whole body. I mean, you are standing and moving around, so there is that element to it.
Your fingers don't really get as tired as the rest of your body do.
They get blisters, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But, it's a bit different, but if it's kind of doing both instruments, it's kind of spreading that sort of tiredness throughout the body, so it makes it a little bit easier in that way.
Yeah. You ever got some really bad calluses from playing bass?
All the time.
Did it ever get to the point where it went red for you?
I've had these big sort of black blisters.
You got to the black point. I got to the red point, and I kept playing until it went off, but it never turned black.
It's one of those things with bass. I find there's sort of a fine line between, if you don't play enough, if you don't really play often, and then you just play heaps at once, you get blisters really quick. So you have to make sure that you're playing enough to kind of keep those fingers strong. But yeah, so if it's too much though, then you're going to get blisters all the time.
It's like overtraining at a gym or something.
Yeah.
Pushing yourself too hard, trying to lift 200 kilos when you've only lifted barely that much.
So I think kind of consistency is key. But,
yeah. Definitely. Every time I go pick up a new bass for something, after playing guitar for a while, I'll go through that whole ouch adjustment period, and it's it's like I feel like if I played bass like more often, that just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, but it just kind of stays that way. It just turns red, and then I remember when I was in school, same school as you, Jai. I told the teacher, and I was like, "Hey, my fingers have turned red from playing too much," because I think we were playing for like 6 hours one day, and the teacher was like, "Bro, just toughen up, keep playing, keep playing,
just push through the pain."
I'm like, do I need a bandage for it? I'm obviously not going to mention the teacher because I feel like he'd be under some sort of health and safety risk.
Yeah.
But he's like, keep playing. And honestly, that was probably better advice, because if you can play and get used to it in that state, then you can play anytime. You know, like,
absolutely.
Yeah. But
like you kind of, I find that if I don't play for, a month or so, it takes a bit of time to kind of get back in it, and you have to kind of you've got to kind of start slow. I'll just do a bit of playing every day because when you're doing a gig that's 45 minutes, it's that's different than just playing 5 minutes at home or so. So you kind of got to work your way up a bit. But
what do you think about picks?
Picks on bass. Well,
because I asked you, can you help on this recording? I really like the sound of the pick on bass, because Jai's co-writing with some of my stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, fuck that.
Look, I'm not a pick player. I'll say that. Look, I don't have anything against picks on bass guitar. I mean, it is the sort of cliche that I feel like the two kind of groups. Like you got to kind of choose one, but I think the best sort of players are able to do both. And so if I was a better bass player, I would be using picks more.
That's fair. That's a good observation. But I feel like as soon as people's calluses started coming up, they just gravitate towards that pick.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. Like, there are a lot of advantages to using picks. I mean, a big one is just speed. Like, I remember when I first started on bass, I was only using fingers. And I think after about maybe, 6 months of playing bass, like, I hadn't even really used a pick, even tried at that point, and I gave it a go once, and it was just, I was able to play so much faster, and, for a very short period of time, I was considering actually using picks a lot more, and I still want to one day, but I just find, for my style, like, I like the tone as well of just the bare sort of fingers on the bass. Certain things.
Pause. Yeah, no. I get what you're saying. I don't know, but it's more of a metallic sort of angry sound whenever you have a pick on it. And to me, I'm just gravitated towards it, maybe because I'm such a Blink-182 fan.
That's fair.
And I don't know, it's something. When you're playing with your fingers, it's a bit like you've got the tone knob maybe down a little bit.
Yeah,
that's how it kind of feels to me.
Yeah, you kind of with a pick, I find it's sort of a more kind of a cold sound, if that makes sense, and
cold, fucking sexy motherfucker sound.
Yeah, and you can really hear a lot more of the that tone sort of. What's the word I'm looking for? You can really hear the start of the note on pick, where with fingers it all kind of blends together a little bit more.
It's a bit more of a natural sort of.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a warmer sort of sound.
Yeah. Speaking of playing with your fingers, I was talking about this with you before in the car. Geddy Lee just presses down so hard. So Geddy Lee's from Rush. Jai is obsessed with Rush.
My favourite band.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so just prog rock stuff.
Yeah, Geddy Lee, he's just, not only is he a great player, but his tone is really good too.
Oh, that tone is great.
And he really digs in with his fingers, like, because I know he puts a lot of gain on his bass a lot of the time, but yeah, he's just a great bass player.
Yeah.
And I know Rush have recently announced that they're going to be going on tour again.
Yeah.
I know fortunately their drummer passed away, I think back in 2020.
Was it the guy with the like reverse kit, where it was like a 360 kit?
Yeah, he had a huge kit. Neil Peart, his name was. I think he was a type of he passed away, I think, from brain cancer. But and so I think Rush, they haven't really done a lot lately.
Who's the new guy? Do you know the new guy?
Oh, it's actually it's a girl. Anika Niles is the drummer's name. She's actually a really good drummer. I've known about her for a couple of years. She does a lot of complex sort of stuff. Like I know she does these. She's got these songs which use kind of quintuplet beats, which is kind of dividing a beat into 5 notes, when usually 2 or 4 is a lot more common. So it's kind of I know she's done a lot of that kind of stuff. But she's played a lot of different groups, and I think it'll be great for her to go on tour with Rush.
It'd be nice if Rush maybe stopped at Australia.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've actually never played in Australia.
Oh, they've never played here?
No, never.
Because, like I was saying this before to you, like, I swear I've seen a lot of Rush fans here. Like, there's a lot more than you think. And it's like...
Yeah, like...
Don't neglect us.
Yeah, it would have been great. They never really picked up here in Australia. Like, I was kind of saying before, like, I feel like Rush is kind of like the AC/DC of Canada, where over here, like, everyone knows AC/DC. Even if you're not a musician, you've at least heard Back in Black or something. And, Rush are a lot more popular up in, America, Canada, even in Europe. But they just, I don't know what it is. They never really picked up here. I mean, of course there are people who'd listen to them.
Yeah, now with the internet and everything, I think it's even more of a reason to come down.
Yeah.
Because everyone has that sort of accessibility to them.
And, I mean, I think any Rush fan should be happy that at least they are playing again.
At least they're alive, like most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because...
God bless.
I think a lot of people thought they would probably never play again. Because, Neil Peart was such an important part of the band. One of the best drummers in the world. So no one can ever replace him. But, it's good that they're doing something.
Yeah, that's true. He had a crazy set and everything. And he wrote the lyrics as well, didn't he?
He wrote the lyrics for Rush,
Didn't sing them, but wrote them.
No. It's not too common to have the drummer write the lyrics in a band.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like...
Is there other bands that do that?
I'm sure there are.
I'm sure Nirvana would have had Dave write some stuff. Like,
possibly. Yeah,
maybe his lyrics
I do remember that. But it's kind of like that old joke, like, what was the last thing the drummer said before he got kicked out the band? Hey guys, I wrote a song. So, it wasn't too common, but it worked for Rush. And Neil Peart, he was a very intelligent man. He read a lot of books and that, but yeah,
that's cool. I mean, I had this conversation in the car with you about traveling, and I was thinking, if Rush tours somewhere in Asia or somewhere closer to Australia, would you take that trip to go see him? Because I think it would be worth it for you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the only reason I go, but absolutely. If I was going somewhere and I knew Rush was playing, 100%. Like, they're a band that they started in the mid-70s, so they're a bit before my time, and it's probably not going to be a lot of opportunities Like this tour they're doing now, I think, well, next year they're doing it. Could possibly be the last time they tour. Hopefully not, but yeah.
Just put a gun to their head after and be like, please tour for Jai. You know, Jai needs to see you.
Right.
Yeah, no.
All right, well, yeah. I could talk all day about Rush.
Yeah.
But,
so, something else you showed me was like this keyboard that he was using with his feet.
Yes.
That amazed me, how he's singing, playing bass like that, like to that level. And then also playing these keys things with his feet. Like...
Yeah, that's the thing about Geddy Lee is he's basically playing 3 instruments at once. I forget what the name of them are called. The foot pedals.
Like I struggle just to sing and play open chords sometimes.
Yeah,
like that's a new level of skill.
Yeah, so not only is he playing bass, doing 100 notes a second. He's singing, and he's using this sort of foot keyboard. I forget the name of it, but yeah, it's a big sound for just 3 musicians, and they never, even when they toured, they never had anyone to play the keyboards or anything. It was always just the 3 of them. They never had it like a guitarist, another guitarist. Yeah,
was that Geddy?
Yeah, that's Geddy. So
that was his feet.
No, not that. I'm pretty sure he had an actual keyboard. But the thing about Rush is they cared a lot about the performance. Like even when they were writing songs, they kept the performance in mind. And so a lot of those songs, there's actually. Like, in Tom Sawyer, where it's got that sort of keyboard, there's actually not bass guitar during that section.
Okay. And they also do a lot of that stuff, like, live as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how... they kind of write the songs in a way where you've still got a real big sound. Even when Geddy's playing that keyboard, it's... you've only got guitar and drums with that. There's no bass guitar. But they wrote songs in a way where you still get that full sound of a band.
I'm sure like the low end would be covered by the keys anyway and stuff. So it's like, harmonically it would work. Which is kind of cool. But yeah. I don't know. One thing that I've really been obsessed with is it's a bit similar to Rush's Yes. Like I think you said that they were yes. I think you said they were like Rush was maybe inspired by them too, because I can definitely hear a lot of similarities.
Yeah, they're both sort of part of that sort of prog scene. I haven't listened to Yes as much. They're a bigger band. I think mostly like 5 members they had.
5 or 6, yeah. They've
had a couple different, but definitely sort of that prog scene, along with, even like King Crimson, sort of similar as well.
I was going to talk about this. Jai shows me these live videos sometimes. He'll come over and he'll show me these live videos of bands, and I'm like, always keen to see them because they're awesome usually. And he shows me King Crimson and I'm like, what is this? What the frick is this? So there was 3 drummers and then there was a guitarist. This is the part that just shocked me. This dude was playing with a straight face and it just sounded like he was so good at the instrument that he just played every note out of key perfectly. You've got to see the video. I don't know what video it is, but it is it's so good. It's horrible on my eyes. I'm sure they're great musicians, but I've got to really get my head around stuff like that to understand how that's enjoyable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess a lot of the sort of prog bands, they're not for everyone. I mean, a lot of the bands, like especially like Rush, I find a lot of the time they're kind of like a musician's band. A lot
That's
of the
true.
fans, not all of them, of course,
Tool's
but
a bit like that too.
yeah, a lot of them are musicians, the fans, and yeah, King Crimson is like they're definitely interesting.
Three
I know.
drummers,
I think that guitarist Robert Fripp you're talking about. His name is
this old guy, completely straight face, and he's
He's and he plays in a lot of the time this sort of weird tuning that he actually kind of came up with himself, where he actually tuned the guitar kind of in fifths instead of fourths, which kind of just basically means that the guitar strings are tuned further apart than usual. Kind of actually a bit more similar to an instrument like the violin or something like that. And so he's a very unique player, definitely.
All right, well, we're going to take a break. We'll see you back in a bit. We're back for What's Your Tone podcast. There's a question I want to ask all my guests. And one of the questions is, what would you be doing right now in this moment if you weren't here doing this podcast?
Well, I actually was meant to be doing some uni shit tonight, but I'd much rather be here. Had some assignment I'm meant to be doing, but nothing interesting.
Psychology can be that way, can't it?
Yeah, well, I've lost a bit of interest in it lately, but I was a lot more interested when I started. But I think I've kind of life has gone in a different direction, as it does sometimes.
You've always been putting music in front of everything, and I understand. It's a bit hard to juggle other things on top of it.
Yeah. You got your priorities in life, and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so actually, I wanted to talk about sort of the backstory of Jai. Like,
Backstory.
you mentioned to me that you used to do karate.
I still do, because yeah, well, so my dad was a black belt in karate, and it's one of those things that I never really got into when I was younger. And I kind of just got into it about a year ago. Because I always kind of thought like, well, it's kind of just skipped me, the karate. But I've realised, I'm still young. It's never, like, I can always give it a go again. And, even with karate, you can it can help out in music as well. Because even something in karate is you practice moves and you want to try to get them the same time. Try to make it, identical each time. And there's a certain sort of ideas from that you can even kind of use in music. Even just practicing whatever it might be, whether it's a scale or a certain song. Getting that sort of muscle memory. It's definitely interesting in that way, how it can help.
It's a very... Would you say you can relate the karate to your music as it's like a mind-muscle connection sort of thing that involves a lot of rhythm too?
Yeah, in some ways it does. Like, just in terms of, the consistently practicing and that, it's kind of just like a certain, I guess, philosophy behind... in karate where it can be applied to music, but there's so many ways different musicians will do things. Some people are, very theory based. Other people, just comes, they've got their other ways of doing it.
That's interesting. It's like, I feel like it sort of applies to everything, like where we are now with music. It's like, how did what I grew up with influence the way I learn now?
Yeah, 100%. Like the sort of those early experiences in life definitely kind of set you up for how you're going to view the world, and really set what your priorities are.
Yeah, I think it's a interesting topic because it's like, I wonder what sort of, skills people would have, or like sort of activities that they'd done growing up that led to them doing music, because I feel like maybe there'd be a few patterns. Like, for example, like I noticed a lot of skateboarders that would play guitar too.
Yeah, interesting.
When I was growing up, and I skated too. I was much more into skating than I was guitar when I grew up, and I don't know. It's sort of, I guess it's part of the sort of youth sort of thing to play guitar in that kind of space with the skaters and everything.
Yeah, 100%.
I guess it's part of the sort of community, but I'm sure there's like some sports and stuff like that people can relate to it as well.
Yeah, and I always find you can really see someone's personality by the way they play their instrument a lot of the time. Some people, because people play different styles. Some are more sort of flashy. Some people are more technical. And I feel like a lot of the time, like, your personality actually influences how you play and what sort of style you have.
So if you're ever a musician and you're watching a gig, you'll know this feeling of like, if you're watching someone else or you're playing for someone else and you know that they're musicians watching musicians, right? We will be judging you on your character and like by the way that you play.
Yeah.
And like I can just tell by the look in some people's eyes, they're like, yeah, he thinks this and that about the fact that I did the arpeggio that way. You know what I mean?
Might be a little extreme.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Don't do that. Don't judge us for the way we play, because I'm pretty sloppy. Yeah. But it's an interesting observation, like, I think, with that kind of stuff, because a lot of people who, I've found that people who are more sort of feeling based and they're sort of, go with the flow with their life and stuff like that, they write really good music, but with really good lyrics, with really heavy emotional lyrics. But also, they tend to not learn like the theory part of it or the technical aspect of it. This is just from my experience.
Yeah, it's interesting. And so many different ways that people will kind of, write their songs. I think it all kind of has to come back to the sort of the sound and the feeling that you're trying to get.
It's very important.
Yeah.
But also, on the other hand, like the logical part of it, like the logical people that, they would study the actual sheet music of things and they'll study all the scales and the rhythms. Their pitfall sometimes is that emotion. So I think a lot of writing good music, from my point of view, is like getting both worlds, getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, you got to kind of find that balance a lot of the time. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's also the thing about like music theory as well is music theory, like, it can mean so many different things to different people. Because you've got like Western music theory, which is one sort of set of ideas of, what might sound good. But also, I feel like everyone has their own music theory.
That's true.
'Cause,
like everyone has their own god.
Yeah. Well, people, some people...
Everyone has their own music theory god, man.
It's like in the way people play guitar and stuff, how they sort of want to kind of... how they think about things that they're playing, Some people will really just kind of visualize the fretboard sort of in their head and kind of think about it in that way, whereas other people will just think about, what numbered frets they might be playing on each string. So, and then, well, some people are just kind of thinking about the different notes.
Like on the stave, yeah.
Yeah. But it's all just different ways of thinking about things, and some people are just going to hear the sound, and it could be. I would argue that all those ways are using some form of music theory, because a music, I think sometimes people think of music theory as some sort of holy Bible that is, it's kind of the way to do things, but I think everyone actually uses their own sort of set of ideas of what sounds good.
Yeah. I feel like it could go either way though. Like it could be like a complete imitation act, or it could go like you're so original that it's almost like you don't know if you're actually good because no one else has done it. You know what I mean? And it's as well. It's like I think it's all about balance combined with like making it your own, sort of putting it in your own words. Like,
yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, like I think it all comes down to what your goal is as a musician, because some people want to be, the best as possible on their instrument. Other people, it's just a hobby and they just want to have fun. And some people, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I try to kind of use a lot of different sort of ideas, because as I was saying, I think we've talked about this a bit before, Nolan, but there are sort of different ways that people will kind of remember things that they play, whether through muscle memory or thinking about the notes they're playing or visualizing the fretboard. And so there's kind of different strategies people use, and I always think the best strategy is to use every strategy. And it's kind of, because you might be doing a gig, and if you're only relying on sort of just knowing where your hands go in the fretboard, sometimes that doesn't always work and you can forget things. But if you have sort of safety nets, I think of them as, if you also know the notes that you're playing, know the names of the chords, and you've got that, you've built up that muscle memory. Because if you only rely on one strategy, it will fail sometimes. But
yeah, so this is in a live music sense. Like,
I'm talking mostly about performing.
Because if it's a recording, you've got a million different takes.
Of course, yeah. And it's a very different process, recording and playing live. Two different skills as well.
So maximising your sort of chances to crush the gig, basically, to get it right, is having like certain safety nets. So having different ways that you can sort of put it into your own words to help you. So if you find that you're like a fret, I'm just trying to analyze what you're saying. Like, if you feel like you're a fret guy, if you feel like you're a tab guy, write the tab out, have it there when you're performing even, but like make sure that you also have other sort of ways of doing that. So if you want to remember the actual chord name, or you want to remember what the drummer's playing or the bass player's playing while they're doing it, like, it's all of those things in repetition can just help it, because you're not in charge whether it's the gig goes well or not. You're only in charge of the chances of it going well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's because people have different ways they do things, and I think the best is to find what works for you. You have to try out different things,
and that means messing up sometimes.
It's always going to lead to stuff ups at first, but I think again it all comes back to what your goal is. But I I always think that, the best musician, if there is such thing, is able to adapt to what is needed at the time and is able to use a variety of different sort of strategies to play the best they can.
Yeah. It's definitely very time consuming to do that. But
Yeah.
I feel like that shows how serious you are about your performance. But I actually, now that I say that, like, sometimes just getting enough practice in is not actually like that long. You just need it enough so it can circulate in your brain, even if it's just practicing like a chorus or something like that. Like, it's just that constant repetition.
Yeah.
That people struggle with. Yeah.
It's always better to be over prepared than under prepared.
That's true.
And it's like what we were just saying with how playing live is very different to recording. So that also has different set of skills, and they're kind of each easier and harder in their own way. When you're recording, if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter because you can always redo it. But with that being said, there is a certain level of quality that you should be trying to strive towards, where in a gig, if you do make a mistake, people might see, but it doesn't matter too much in the end. If as long as you can play it, as long as you can still play it. But,
Like, but still having that reflection to go over it and be like, hey, I did mess up in this spot, but I'm not going to hate myself and assume that everyone else saw that mistake, because that's just going to make it worse.
Exactly. So you can always improve and give it another go. That's right.
Yeah, I feel like also, like, just another thing separate, like, when people start out a lot, it's a very emotional game. Like, when you're starting to play, you're shaky. When you're starting to play, you'll have this you won't have, like, you either get really egotistical about it and think you're doing the best, which is usually when you're drunk.
Right.
You're usually drinking at those gigs or something, like, or you either get, in your head about like, oh my God, I fucked up. But I think a good way to, like, combat that is to say, like, am I giving this everything I've got in this moment? And, like, that will just help you feel a lot more confident about your performance.
Yeah, that's right. And, almost all musicians I meet are pretty chill. And you're never going to get, even if you make a big mistake, people are not going to sort of hold that against you. As long as you have the right attitude about it, you can always improve from that. And even if you make a mistake, I think we've got a pretty good supportive scene here in Melbourne, where we don't sort of hold it against people if we make a mistake, because we've all made mistakes. I remember my first gig. I was doing a gig, and there were a lot of songs that were just, the tempo was not what they should have been. And I think a lot of the time when we do gigs, you got the adrenaline going. And often we're going to play faster than is meant to be. And I think that's why it's always good to be over-prepared, if anything, because you might be able to play a song fine in the practice room at home, but in the gig, it's a different environment. You've got lots of people in the crowd. You might be playing, on a stage that you've never been on before. You might be using an instrument that's not your own, and so things are different. So you want to make sure that you can kind of control for those sort of differences, and make sure that you can play as best as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, what I'm getting from this is, like, just being over-prepared is honestly, like, a good thing. It's like, but I feel like when it gets to a bad spot, it's like, when I start hating myself for it, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, I wasn't prepared enough in this one little section and stuff. Like, I feel like it's drawing that line,
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and of course there's a balance that comes with that, because you might practice something every fucking day, but you might still mess it up, and that happens sometimes.
Perfectionists really do not like that.
No.
But yeah, I think it's out of everything, like, I think music has been, for me at least, like, has been very much a mental game. Like, it's like you've got the whole studying aspect of, which is similar to, like, school, where it's like, okay, how can I improve this skill, or how can I learn more about this one thing? But then you've got the whole physical exercise of it, which honestly, like, is more mental than anything. Like, you can do sweep picking or something like that. It's not an easy thing to do, but you can do all these techniques, but, how are you looking on stage while you do it? Like, are you present with the moment when you're playing those notes? Like, are you doing it confidently? Because when people can't see that you're doing it confidently or everything, especially if you're, playing a gig and people see you, like, it's like, people can see that you're not confident. That's why, honestly, like, I think, being self-aware and, like, saying, hey, I messed up in this spot or whatever, that's fine. But I see a lot of musicians on stage where it's just like, yeah, sorry, we messed up that one part or something like that. I'm like, okay, we came to see live music. We didn't come to see recorded music. If we wanted to listen to something perfect, we'd listen to the Spotify.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And sometimes those stuff-ups can be really good to see. Kind of, you get to see the human sort of element, especially, when you can kind of have fun with it. Because that's what at the end of the day, music's got to be fun.
Yeah.
Playing live. Otherwise, what's the point?
That's true. That's true. And it's, as long as you're connected when you make that mistake with the audience and stuff, then it's awesome. I have an example, like, I was watching a band, and they had a really bad soundy. I'm not going to name any names, but it's like, so the vocals, the lead vocals, their mic was, like, always peaking. They were speaking real loud into it.
Yep.
But for some reason, in that moment, it just worked because it, like, shocked the whole room. And every time that it happened, like, it'd be like, oh, what's going on, And that was kind of part of the feeling of that gig to me. It was like, oh, I want to go back again and see if that mic peaks at the next show. You know what I mean?
Right. And if they sound good with the mic peaking, then what are they going to sound like when it's not?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So...
But it's cool. Nah, but they're probably, they're good singers. But yeah. Yeah, so it's just like that whole human element of it all, man. Yeah,
because I think especially with the rise of, like, AI making music as well, one of my worries is that we're going to lose that human element. And, I think I hope that people are always still going to want to see live music played by musicians. And it also comes back to, like, you can practice something so many times and play it like a robot, but at that point, why are you even playing it? Like, just get a robot to do it at that point. Like, I think often the mistakes, whether it's live or sometimes even on a recording, having those little just imperfections it can really make a song what it is.
It's true. Honestly, my perspective on it is AI actually has the potential to bring a lot more to live music, a lot more human to live music, because the more that, you know, they make stuff on Spotify and, you know, streaming services and stuff like that, the more people feel like it's disingenuous, and the more they're actually pushed into going to a human show just to watch someone play it, so that they know they wrote it and everything like that. And I think it could be one of the best things that happens to the live music scene, which could be awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely going to change things. And, you know, the music scene has adapted to technology before. You know, when all digital recording was invented, you know, things had to adapt. And there's definitely potential for AI to change things up. There's a lot we can learn from it. We can also might learn to sort of embrace the human element in music, because AI, it's really good at replicating things, but it is not the best at creating new things. Like, I look at some bands, like, you know, look at Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. That's something AI could never make, because it's so unique and different. And so, yeah, I do think there is potential for AI to do good. I think it kind of, in some ways, it will actually force people to be a bit more creative in some ways, because AI can, if you're making music that sounds like all the other music that's already out there, well, AI can just do that 10 times better a lot of the time. And so it kind of, in some ways, it encourages people to really find their own unique sounds, something that hasn't been done before. And I think it kind of pushes for that creativity.
Yeah, I honestly, like, if we look at it from a positive perspective, more optimistic perspective, it genuinely, like, you know, obviously AI's got its nuances, right? But, like, it could be, the more AI that comes into this world, I like to think, like, this is going to be a controversial take, but the more AI that comes into the world, the more human emotional, like, things, or, you know, more things that make people human are enriched, because you have that separation between what can be imitated and what is real. And, and there's only an amount of, you know, imitation that a software can do. Like, a software can't, you know, think your thoughts or something like that. Anyway, I don't want to get into that scary stuff, but yeah, look, I see it as a good thing in the most part. At least I'm just strictly talking about the music side of things, you know, and the art side of things too. Yeah,
like, there's going to be a lot of changes, I think, that come with AI, as any new technology has changed music, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I think there's, you know, a lot of good things, probably a lot of bad too, but yeah.
Anyway, we might actually end the podcast here. Thank you guys for joining for our very first podcast. Now, Jai, before we leave, do you have anything you want to plug? Any bands, any gigs?
Well, I'm in a couple bands at the moment. I'll drop a couple. So if you want to check out my band, Red Envy.
Red Envy.
So I think hopefully we should be releasing some stuff soon. Check out a band called Sheer Chance. It's a new band I've joined recently, and I guess the last thing I would say is you should also check out some music by a fella called Roy Darby. He's got some real nice stuff. Bit of a sort of country feel to some of him.
I believe we will have Roy Darby on one of these podcasts. I'm really hoping that we can get him on, because he's so talented, and I can't wait to hear his perspective on things. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks, Jai.
Thanks for having me.
And I'll see you guys in the next one.